Hello everybody, Prowl here, and today I wanted to do something fun. I've been enjoying my little bit of time I do have available to watch some Hermitcraft episodes, and you guys know me, I'm all about Parity and the differences between Bedrock and Java Edition, and I can't help but notice as they build farms and do technical things, just kind of pointing out in my own head, well wait, that doesn't work on Bedrock, and the ideas flow and the reasons as to why drive me crazy. So I thought it'd be fun to take a Hermitcraft build that has been recently done on Hermitcraft and build it here on Bedrock Edition. We'll just see how it works, and then we will explain why it does or does not work the same way on Bedrock Edition as it did in Java Edition. And today's farm we're going to take a look at is the Creeper farm made by Iscal85 and was originally designed by Waddles, who, as good of a guy as he is, has terrible taste in his enchantments on bows. Bruh. Now first we got to get the conditions set right for our farm here. Iscal started this initially underground, so he dug out a complete chunk and he dug it down pretty far into the deep slate levels. So let me mark out our chunk borders here and then we will clear out a chunk. Okay, unfortunately this is Bedrock Edition. We don't have an F3 screen and other tools and built-in utilities to find our chunk, so I got an add-on here that's going to help me do it. We're just going to mark the four corners of the chunk here. Let me get myself somewhere in the middle of this thing. And unlike Iscal, we're going to do this a quick and easy way. We're going to use commands. Okay, here we are. We're bottom of the world because that's how far Mr. Iscal took this thing. And from what I could gather, he had, well, first of all, I guess we need to pick a center. This is an even number. So we're going to say that right there is the center. So we're going to build a little 3x3 right here like this. We're going to build it up a second notch, and then we're going to put campfires on top of it like so. And actually, I think it was a 5x5 because this thing is probably going to be made out of hoppers. So we can just send everything to a set of chests. So let's go ahead. Let's knock all of this out on some hoppers in the back. Okay, so now we have our place where our mobs are going to fall. And I'm trying to just remember off the top of my head, I think creepers you can knock down like 24, I think about 24 blocks is how high we want to go with this. That would take us up to Y level -32. And if we take a creeper, we push him off the edge. Bye-bye. He did die. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to build our little platform right here, have a little 3x3 area for the creepers to fall down. Okay, so we're going to start here with where the snowman is going to go. Let's get a few blocks that we're going to, and actually, I guess we can just get our floor set first. The way that this thing works is we have a gap there, a gap here, here, and here. And we have a 2-block gap right there for our creepers to fall down. And then you have 3 blocks back to the wall. These platforms are 7 blocks wide. Actually, I got that wrong. They are 9 blocks wide like this. Boom, there we go. So that's what a platform looks like. And then we have a carpet to block spider spawns like so. We have open trapdoors on either of these ends right here that allow the creepers to jump off the edge. We have buttons that go here to prevent spawns. And last but not least, a snow golem in a nice little fenced in prison. Now, if I were to test this, I would go ahead and just throw this creeper right here. Snow golem hits him. And creeper never gets a chance to jump off the edge. What happens if we give him a little push? He falls. Interesting. All right, we will worry about that a little bit later. The core mechanic works. The last thing that we got to do is we need to build up additional layers. I do believe initially Iscal made like, I'm going to go back and look, but I think it was like 8 or 9 layers or something like that. So we'll make sure we do the same. We'll do the same number of layers that he did just so we can get similar rates. But the last thing we need to do is we need to make sure we put our trapdoors underneath our platform. This will block other mob types from spawning and make it so only creepers will be able to spawn. Okay. In that initial clip, Iscal had 7 layers, so we have 7 layers here. Got some water to filter everything down to the center to drop and die. All of the 7 layers are complete. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to cover the top with some tinted glass. That way, if we want to easily look down and look in, we can. Get inside here. We still have some light coming through because I forgot to get this edge. Okay, perfect. It is now all dark all the way down through until we get down to the very bottom. That is blocked off. And then last but not least, he did have a little bit of like tunnel lighting done. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pop into spectator mode here. I'm just going to poke through a few areas here, light up some of the general area, some of the biggest parts of the caves that are close by, just to kind of get us at that same point that he was at. Okay, for the most part, I think we're on pretty even ground. Yes, we do have some caves not lit up, but again, Iskall kind of had that same situation on his side, and we have a lot of caves that are lit up to prevent spawns. And honestly, there's not a lot of like huge caves around here that would take up mob cap. So those things being said, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna do a little bit of AFK just to see what kind of rates that we get. I'm actually going to do the AFK in a little bit more favorable of a position. Iskall said while he was working on things, he was getting some spawns, and I think he said he was AFK for a while. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plot myself right down here, and we are going to let this sit, and we'll see what happens. All right, it's been a full hour, not the few hours that Iskall AFK'd, but I feel safe to check this now because I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. A string, 4 glowing sacks, 6 gunpowder, 8 string, glowing sack, and 4 string. We have string in here. We have more string than we have gunpowder in a farm that supposedly is supposed to stop spiders from spawning. So why is this happening? Let's take a look. So you see spiders in here. This dude's just kind of trapped in the corner. He's actually being... Is he getting hit by both of them? He is. So he's just like permanently trapped, and these guys wouldn't be hitting anybody else. I don't think we have any others in here right now. Doesn't look like we do. So just to stop all the noise, let's get this guy turned off, and let's talk about what's going on here on Bedrock Edition. Why does this farm made by Iskall, designed by Waddles initially, why does this not work for Bedrock Edition like it does for Java? So a couple of different things. First of all, on Bedrock Edition, mobs spawn in the corners of blocks. It'll check the center of the block. It'll check the block to see if the block is capable of spawning, but then it'll attempt to spawn in the corner, and if there's something in the way, that will block the spawn. So this block right here, if a creeper were to try to spawn here, that spawn attempt would fail because it would try to spawn right here, and that spot right there is blocked by the carpet, so that's not going to work. If you try to spawn here, it's going to try to spawn in the corner. That is blocked by carpet. That is not going to work. So anywhere along this line, not going to work. Anywhere along this line, also not going to work. Anywhere along this line, it will work in a lot of these cases, right? It can't spawn this way. It can't spawn this way. It can spawn right here though. It doesn't, it's this spot right here. That's empty spot. This is not obstructed. This spot right there, that's not an obstruction. So the creeper can spawn across any one of these blocks going right across here. So same goes for everywhere. So basically, like, we've cut down our spawning spots available by about 2/3 right off the bat. But also spiders can spawn in those spots too, because the spider can see there is, it's going to look to attempt this spot right here. And if it goes to spawn in the corner, I can't remember, there's a direction to it. I don't know if it's like northwest or what, but it's going to always spawn in a northwest corner or whatever that is. So that would mean that on like this side, for example, if that's it, it would check those 4 spots to spawn in, and it would see no obstruction, and it would allow it to spawn. That's why a spawn is able to occur here. And I said a moment ago that the creeper would be able to spawn on all of these. That's not true. It always checks the whatever northwest corner. So if that was like this direction, then it would be able to spawn in all of these spots. And I think that would maybe be it. Like, it wouldn't be able to spawn here because the wall's there, so it might only be one side that's available to spawn in. So that's one of your biggest reasons as to why we're not getting creeper spawns in here. But while that's one of the main reasons, that is not the only reason. Bedrock Edition also works much differently for how it tries to spawn and its spawn cap. So there's a spawn density check that occurs. Any mobs that are found that try to spawn above ground, there is a cap of 8. Only 8 mobs can spawn above ground, meaning that there is skylight above them. 16 mobs can spawn below ground, meaning that they are underneath a solid block. Well, in this case here, we're not using any of our surface spawn cap, and we're using our 16 spawn cap. So we can only have 16 mobs spawn at a time. Now, that doesn't just go for here, that goes for all of this area in here too. So if we go through and we were to look while the mob spawning was still turned on, you would have mobs in a lot of these caves taking up that 16 mob cap until they despawn, and then another mob spawn is allowed to happen. So you end up only having a small amount of spawn spots available here because of how the spawning mechanics work, and you have many more spawning spots available out here, and just a few caves we did not light up. Another thing fundamental to how Bedrock Edition works, and the best way I've been able to explain this to people, is Java Edition rushes to fill the mob cap. What do you have, like 70 hostile mobs or something like that can spawn in at a time on Java Edition? Java Edition fills it in a snap. Like, it takes no time. It'll fill the cap. It'll check all the spawning spots. It'll try to spawn all the mobs, and bam, they're done. Bedrock Edition doesn't do that. Bedrock Edition works on a much slower pace. So it'll check spawning spots periodically and try to spawn mobs on them. So the only way to increase your rate of spawning on Bedrock Edition is to have more spawning spots available. If you only have a few spawning spots available, even what you may think is a lot of spawning spots available, you're not going to get mob spawns because the spawn rate is not fast enough. So you have to have a lot of spawning spots available. Let me show you an example. This right here, this is my Bedrock guide world. And we have a pretty traditional general mob farm over here for Bedrock Edition. You'll see there's 4 pretty large towers here. This is a quad density cap mob farm. Remember I told you 8 on the surface, 16 under the ground? Well, that's only for a certain distance. So if I separate these things out far enough from each other, I can have that 8 and 16 here, 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 and here all simultaneously. So that's one of the things that we've done. I'm gonna throw myself into spectator mode really quick and show you what we have here. This right here we have is the maximum number of spawning spots that we can really get and have an easy like time flowing water and doing that sort of thing. So we've gone as far as water will flow. You'll see this like weird design here you may not be used to seeing with scaffolding. That's because mobs on Bedrock Edition can spawn with their feet in scaffolding and their heads in water, and they immediately start getting pushed to the center. When you have a limited spawn cap like we do in Bedrock Edition, one of the things you have to do to speed up your farms as much as possible is kill the mobs as fast as possible. So this gets them moving as quickly as we can to the center where they drop down and they get killed. So you can imagine the number of spawning spaces we have available here versus the farm made on the Hermitcraft server by Iskal. It's probably like over 100x. It's actually probably closer to like 1000x the number of spots available. Last but not least, we have a tutorial I did on a creeper farm. Not my original design. Maybe some elements and like way I styled it are, but the original like idea of it is not my design. Now, the way this works is a little bit different, kind of like what we did in the other farm. You see, we got a line here with water going down. The creepers can spawn here. Now, remember, the creepers will try to spawn in the corner of a block. So that means they'll try to spawn about right there where that leg is, right? Well, since we're using fences here, these fences are centered on the block, meaning that they aren't blocking the spawns. So the creepers will spawn on the edges of the corners of the block like they're supposed to, because these fences are far enough in the center to allow that to happen, and then they work the way down. But since a spider still on Bedrock Edition does require a 2x2 area, it'll try to spawn in the corner, but since it's larger, it would clip with the fence and the spawn fails. So a design like this will block spider spawns from happening, but allow creeper spawns to happen. You have to have these dividers in, which means that you're taking away a lot of spawning spot potential on Bedrock Edition. Remember, that is very important, how many spots you have available. So we take a farm like this and we make it pretty massive. We pretty much get it to like fully take up our simulation distance, which on Bedrock Edition would be only 4 chunks if you are playing on any of the default modes. So we've kind of taken that into account with how this thing is shaped and designed. It's the maximum size that you can get on a simulation distance for spawning world, where your mobs can only spawn up to 44 blocks away from the player. So this takes all that into account to get us a pretty hefty amount of creeper drops in the neighborhood of about 3,000 or so, maybe a little bit more per hour. And that's close to the max that you can ever get on Bedrock Edition. There may be some farms that are slightly more efficient, maybe slightly easier than this one to do, but I think you get the point. So there we have it. That's why this farm does not work on Bedrock Edition, why it doesn't work, and kind of what you have to do to have one that does work. I don't know. Did you guys like this video? I thought it was kind of fun to do. I wanted to try it out once. If you have any other Hermitcraft Season 10 farms you would like me to take a look at and see why it doesn't work, let me know down in the comment section below, or let me know in Discord or on Twitter or something like that. I would like to see what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed this video, then click the like button. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more like Bedrock Edition farms, follow the Bedrock Guide series so you can see a little bit more about how things work on Bedrock Edition and how it's different than Java Edition, then the guide is a great place to do that. And I appreciate you guys watching today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.